Good afternoon, welcome back to Turbo's Orders Tech. My name is Rookie Triple XL, and in today's review I'm having a look at some mid-range budget gaming kings. Alright, so as I've mentioned, we have some mid-range budget gaming kings next to me in the form of a 1660 Super and an i5 10400F, which I'm going to be putting through their paces. Well, I have already. I've abused the fact that I have pretty much the most intense Z490 motherboard you could have. I have a nice 3200 megahertz 2x8 gig Clev kit, so we do have some dual channel 3200 megahertz goodness running. Now the F stands for no graphics. I don't know why the F, but it has no iGPU on chip, and I have then paired it up with our new test bench GPU, which is going to be the Gaming X1660 Super. Now this is a replacement card. It's replacing the 1060, and they're more or less identical in a lot of ways. Core clocks and speeds and stuff might vary, but general performance is supposed to be in line or a little bit better, I think, with the 1660. The 1660 Ti was the replacement for like 1070 sort of level. So this is supposed to be a 1060 sort of level, which pretty much 2 years ago was the benchmark for 1080p graphics. And then there is the 10400F, which is actually the hero in this scenario. Now, the 10400F is quite a bit better than its previous brethren in the fact that it has hyper-threading, which makes a massive difference on all-core desktop. Just to give you an example, the 9600KF that I have on my other test bench has a 4.8 gigahertz all-core overclock and manages 1100 in Cinebench R15 multi-threaded benchmarking. Now, compared to a 2700X that gets 1770 for about the same money these days, it wasn't really a compelling thing for desktop. But now, for desktop performance with the hyper-threading, this little chip managed a 1300 in Cinebench R15, and it was running at 45 degrees max load in AIDA64. Compared to the 9600KF, which at 4.8 gigahertz did reach an impressive 74 under the exact same, literally the exact same cooler. I'm using the Hyper 212 block as my sort of baseline for testing. And compared to the 10700K that hit 93 degrees with no extra clock and actually, well, then thermal throttled, it's far side better than that. But moving on to the combination of the two with the 1660 Super, if we have a look at some of the gaming benchmarks, I'm comparing here to my original test bench that we launched the channel with some 2 years ago, being a 2700X and a 1070 Ti that I'd overclocked. Now that's 2 gigs extra VRAM when compared to the 1660 and a lot more clock and supposedly a more powerful core because that shared the same core as the 1080. But if you look at the performance results, this thing is actually a little champion. Comparing that to my Ryzen 7 2700X and 1070 Ti, those when I got them were a lot more expensive than these are. The i5 is only going to set you back about 4,000 Rand locally, and the GPU a little over 6. So it is going to be a lot, well, like I said, cheaper. Now you can get really good 1080p 60 FPS performance out of this setup. And one of the things that I was really impressed by, honestly, was the Dirt 4 benchmark, which, if you look at it, was super clean, super stable. The 1% and 0.1% lows were undeniably better than what I had with the 1070 Ti and a much bigger processor. That processor also requires water cooling to get the most out of it, whereas, like I said, with the Hyper 212, the most I could get it to was 45 degrees in all-core load, which is a lot better than the 10700K kettle that I tested before. So if you're looking at something Intel, I would actually highly suggest this chip. 1300 in Cinebench is also enough that you can do video editing, render out even 3D artwork and stuff without too much delay. It's not a super beast massive 16-core processor for those sort of workloads, but if you're doing light home-based development, video editing stuff, it will be absolutely perfect at that. Now it isn't a K-series chip, so there's no overclocking potential, so if you want that you'd have to get a 10600K. But I doubt that out of the box, if you just put in the chip, there would be actually much performance difference between the two. Alrighty, so esports peeps, if you're looking for FPS on a budget, this is a really good pick. I mean, especially if you look at like Dota 2 for instance, casual 160 frames per second, so 144 Hz, absolutely no problem. And the processor will cost as much as a 144 Hz monitor. That's a deal. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. We do hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and we will see you on the flip side.